you know, here's your sign, okay? Dropping little gems. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Crystal and welcome to my channel. As you guys can see by the title, today's video is going to be about paralegal resume. Okay, so I just want to say that I am so excited to get back to filming paralegal content. I'm so passionate about it. You guys already know. If you haven't seen any of my other paralegal videos and this is your first one, then hi, my name is Crystal. Welcome to my channel. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. But like I was saying, I have numerous paralegal videos on my platform and I just can't believe I haven't done one on resume. It's been really highly requested, so I thought why not just sit down and give you guys some really helpful resume tips for your resume if you are already in the paralegal field, if you're trying to get into the paralegal field, whatever it may be. And honestly, this truly just doesn't apply to just being a paralegal. It applies to honestly any job you're trying to get, but I will be dropping, you know, some gems and hints here and there specifically for the paralegal field or the legal industry. So the way I kind of want to do this is I want to break it down into two videos. So this first video that you guys are watching now, it's going to be about basically like how to build the perfect resume, your do's and don'ts of the resume. And I want to just get into that and talk to you guys about that a little bit so that we can like slowly build. So then the second video is going to be, I'm going to just like show you guys kind of my resume, what it looks like, and give you guys a template to use if that, you know, will be helpful to some of you guys. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into this first series. Honestly, I would be down to make it like a resume series. Let me know what you guys think. I think that'll be pretty cool. So let's just go right ahead and jump into this first little resume segment. So what I kind of have here is a list of do's and don'ts basically. So first I have listed here what not to put on your resume and what a resume should not be. So first we're going to go over what it's not and what not to put. Honestly, I was thinking about not doing it. I was just thinking about what you should put, but I think it is, you know, can be beneficial and helpful if you kind of know what not to put, because if I just tell you what to put, you may think about other things that you can put and that may be on the list of what not to put. So let's go over what not to put on your resume. So a list of everything you've done your entire life. You're not going to put that on your resume. We are young professionals now. We're not going to put, you know, the job that we had at Jamba Juice when we were 14 years old, talking about myself. We're not going to put that. Okay, let me not say let's not put that. You can put that if Jamba Juice is the only place you've ever worked. Then yes, you want to show that you do have some working experience. Later on or in another video, I can dive into kind of how you can flip that in regards to the position that you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying to be a paralegal and you've only worked at Jamba Juice, you can use your skills that you used while you were at Jamba Juice, such as remembering the recipes or, you know, coming in on time or how to deal with the customer. You know, in the paralegal industry, we have clients, so you can kind of relate dealing with, I don't know, disgruntled customers and how you've kind of flipped those situations, and you can flip that into how you can potentially deal with a disgruntled client at your law firm, or, you know, that's just kind of a random example out there. But this bullet point is mainly do not list every single thing. If you've had, that's for people who've had like 10 or 15, like I've probably had, I don't even know, can count, maybe 10. I'm not going to list Jamba Juice because it's just irrelevant, and I've had more relevant jobs and experience in Jamba Juice. So Jamba Juice can get bumped off my resume. I'm not gonna go and list, you know, the time that I worked at a Pizza Hut. I'm just giving examples now. You're not gonna just go list, because mind you want your resume to be short, clear, concise, straight to the point, right? So that's the first one. And my next bullet point, of course, I already jumped ahead of myself, but it's gonna be keep it concise, short, and straight to the point. I don't wanna give like too many scenarios. Like, first of all, you don't wanna put scenarios on your resume at all. I think you guys are kind of getting the point. You just don't want it to be super long-winded. They just wanna know, at Jamba Juice, what did you do? I was a manager, and what your responsibilities were, period. You know, don't go long-winded, because 9 times out of 10, they will toss your resume. So my next bullet point is a 1-page resume is preferred. 2 pages can be okay under certain circumstances. And I say this because if most of your jobs are pretty similar, then you don't have to be redundant in listing your descriptions. But let's say you worked at 5 law firms previously before, and at each law firm you did something different, then in that circumstance, it may be okay for your resume to be 2 pages, because you want to fully let your employer know, like, this is the gist of what I did. You don't want to like short yourself, if anything. But I will say 1.5, no longer than kind of like 1 3/4. If you're 2 full pages going on 3, like, that's extremely too long. You need to start cutting down stuff. So my next bullet point is going to be that your resume is not a time to showcase your personality or your skills. I don't know if you guys know this, but the average time that like a recruiter or a hiring manager reviews your resume is actually only 7 seconds. So in those 7 seconds, you think they're gonna try to get to know your personality, what you didn't know. Leave your personality for the interview. You just want to get straight to the point. You want to list your skills, you want to list what you're proficient in, and you want to list your experience. That's all, that's it. And your name and your phone number and your email address for them to contact you. That's it. Don't go into personality traits. I work good with customers. I'm super happy when I come in. No. We don't want any of that on our resume, okay? Okay, so my next bullet point is pretty important. So you wanna make sure that your resume is application tracking system friendly. So what that is, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's called ATS. And a lot of companies, I won't say all, but a lot of companies are starting to, if they receive a lot of resumes, they put it into the system called ATS, which is application tracking system. And if your resume is not compatible with that, then 9 times out of 10, they will go ahead and kick it out, because they receive so many, they don't have time to see why this resume was kicked out. They honestly don't. So you want to make sure that it's ATS friendly. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that. So a lot of people don't talk about this, but sometimes companies, like I said, use it. I actually do know a few people who work at law firms that are in the hiring position and that they use it themselves. And I actually reached out to them like, hey, I'm gonna kind of like make a video. What are some gems you think I should drop? And one of my good friends mentioned the ATS tracking system. So I want you guys to know that. Anybody that's applying to places that you know, let them know you want your resume to be ATS friendly, okay? And if your resume is submitted as like a JPEG or a picture file or anything other than a PDF, I think even Word documents, I don't think ATS receives Word documents, but you never want to submit your resume as a Word document. I think that's obvious, but I'm gonna let you know now. Never submit your resume as a Word document. You always want your resume to be a PDF file. That's it, that's all, nothing more, nothing less. If it's submitted anything other than a PDF file, the ATS system program will automatically kick it out because it can't read it. And a lot of people don't know that. So basically, to wrap that part up of what I was saying, is you want your resume to be ATS friendly, PDF file, no JPEGs, no pictures, no Word documents, none of that. We want to keep the format, the file, and the fonts very simple, okay? Times New Roman, 12 font, you know, just the very, very basic. Okay, so next I want to get into the portion of how you even start your resume. I know you have so many things just kind of floating around in your head. Oh, I did this, and then you remember random stuff. Get a piece of paper, and this is how you will kind of start the flow of your resume. You want to first get a piece of paper and you want to jot down all of your education experience. If you have past high school education experience, you don't need to list high school, but if high school is all you have, then of course list that you have a high school diploma or you have the equivalent, your GED. But if you have passed that, obviously, then go ahead and list that. If you have, you know, an AA, which is an associate's degree from a junior college, you want to list that you have a bachelor's, a paralegal certificate, you attended a certification program, you know, your bachelor's, your master's, etc. List down all of your education. Go ahead and start there. That's the easiest place to start. Then you want to list your experience, what types of jobs you've done. Like I said, you can start from most recent. So start from the last job you have and then go back. Maybe I say go back 4 jobs, maybe 5. Again, this is going to be different for everybody, because if you've only had 2, then obviously you're only going to list 2. But if you've had 10, you're not going to list all 10. You're going to probably list your most recent 4 or 5. And next, you want to list your certificates. If you have a certificate in anything, if you have a certificate in forensic science, I'm saying that because I have one, so you want to list your certificate in forensic science. If you are a notary, you want to list that you have your notarization certificate. If anything of that nature, right, on your certificates. So you want to start off with your education. You want to then go into your experience. Mind you, we're just jotting this all down on a piece of paper, right? We're not putting it into a resume format yet. That's going to be for part 2 of this video. Right now, we're just jotting down everything just to get everything out of our mind and onto a sheet of paper. So we said education, we said experiences, we said certifications. Next, we want to list any online courses and qualifications that we have. So I know sometimes there are online courses that you can take. Like, for example, I took like an Adobe Acrobat online course. I took one for Pro Law, which is like a system that some law firms use, just so that I was like more familiar with the program. So those can be online courses, for example, that that you have, and of course people want to see that you've taken that. There are also some online courses for Microsoft Word that showed you how to use all of the Microsoft Word programs like Excel, PowerPoint, regular Microsoft. So if you've taken that online course, go ahead and list that. And in saying all of this, if you've realized, hey, I haven't taken any online courses, or I don't necessarily have a certificate or anything, maybe try to think about if you can. Sometimes you can take them within a day. So if you need to submit your resume right now, then obviously, don't waste any time. Go ahead and shoot that resume out there. But if you have a couple of days or a week to work on your resume, I don't think it would hurt to go ahead and take a couple online courses. Especially go look up the job description, that you're applying for. If they say that they want you to be proficient in Pro Law, go to Pro Law, website, go take an online course, get a little certificate or whatever they give you, course completed, then that's something else that you can now add to your resume. So again, if I'm saying this and you're kind of realizing, oh, I don't really have any certifications in anything or any like online courses or qualifications, then here's your sign, okay? Dropping little gems. So once you've jotted all of this down, you should then kind of be like, okay, we're getting somewhere. You have your education listed, you have experiences, you have certifications listed, you have online courses listed, you have your qualifications listed. So an example of the qualification would be, so wherever you kind of see the job ad at, whether it's like on LinkedIn or the jobs website, wherever you see it at, it'll have like a list of qualifications. It'll say like bachelor's degree, your 8 years of experience. It'll have qualifications that they want you to meet. 9 times out of 10 they'll have qualifications. So I just wanted to list it here separate as qualifications, just so that you can go back to the job ad or wherever the job description is at on the website, wherever it may be, and make sure you note and check off all of the qualifications that you have. There's a couple qualifications you don't have, like for example, being efficient in Pro Law or Microsoft Word. Like I said, make sure you kind of try to take those extra steps so that you're meeting all of the job qualifications. So speaking of job qualifications, that actually leads into my next bullet point, which is you should look for qualifications and responsibilities for a job hiring that is similar to or the exact same job that you like to apply to, basically what I just said. So if you can't find the job description of a job that you are applying to, try to find something similar, because typically the qualifications will be similar. So I also wrote, this will come in handy when you're writing out your bullet points of things you've done at each of your job experiences. Kind of like almost as if you're tailoring your resume to the specific job or job title. Don't add details that aren't relevant to the job you're applying to, and make sure you tailor it for each position you're applying to. Again, I know this kind of may sound like a lot, like I'm gonna have to change up my resume for every single job I'm applying to, but I only say that if you're applying to different positions. If you're applying to a paralegal job and the description is basically the same, then obviously you can go ahead and leave your resume the same. But if you're applying for a paralegal position here and a law clerk position over here, or like a receptionist position over here, then obviously you do want to do a little bit of tailoring to your resume. So another way you can sort of tailor your resume to each job that you're applying to, or tailor it to the job description, would be to insert keywords that are listed on the job listing, such as programs like Adobe, Microsoft, Gmail, etc. So if in the job description they want you to be proficient in Microsoft Word, then you obviously want to list that under your qualifications, I'm proficient in Microsoft Word. Or if the job description states something like you must have experience filing pleadings with with the court's websites, responding to correspondence with clients, or requesting certain type of records, medical records, things of that nature, then obviously if you've done that before, then you want to put that in your resume. I have experience corresponding with clients. I have experience with requesting records from schools, doctors, etc. So that's just kind of an example of whatever is in the description. You want to tailor your resume so that you're meeting every single thing in that description and almost every qualification if you can. The last bullet point that I have here that I wanted to give you guys is grammar and tense. You always want to use the same tense in your resume. I don't know how many times people have sent me their resume to review, and in some sentences they use past tense, and some sentences they use current tense. You always want to make sure you use the same tense. Obviously grammar, spell check, grammar check that thing as many times as you can. For tense, you always want to use current tense. So let's say you're typing out a job description. You don't want to say I sent out pleadings. You want to say send out pleadings and correspondence, communicate, not communicated. You want to say communicate with clients in regards to malpractice cases, things of that nature. So that kind of ties along with proofread. Always make sure you proofread. Even if someone's not reviewing the details of your resume, just send it to anybody just so that they can proofread. You can misspell the smallest things like your name or the company's name. So you always want to make sure you proofread and you want to use the same tense. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up my tips and little gems that I wanted to give you guys on forming the perfect resume. So this was part 1 of our little resume series. Stay tuned for part 2, where we break down each part of the resume, and I'll even show you guys an example of my resume. I'll even give you guys the templates as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me in today's video. I'm so excited to be back with the paralegal content. Please drop down any suggestions or any videos, paralegal videos that you guys want me to do, because we are back on it. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys in part 2 for the breakdown of our resume. Bye.